Because what you, the unsung heroes in the wastewater industry do, matters. Join me, Suzan Chin-Taylor, the Doo-Doo Diva, a longtime veteran of the wastewater, trenchless, and civil infrastructure industry each week as I deliver industry know-how from industry pros who know how. Whether you want to learn about the latest trends in technology, training and retaining great talent, sales and marketing, leadership and growth, or simply how to be more efficient, productive, or profitable, this podcast is for you. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Doo-Doo Diva Smells Like Money podcast. We are now in part 2 of our 2-part series visit with Blair Corning, who is the Deputy Director of South Platte Renew in Colorado. And last time we talked about how this organization is taking some really bold steps to stay ahead of all of the new regulations and the compliance issues that are coming down the pike. And one way they're doing this is a really fascinating thing that this segues beautifully into this, that I wanted Blair to share that they are doing, because I think more organizations, if they have the means to do this, really need to adopt it, because it's only going to help them. There are a number of places around the country that are starting to do this, but I just think this is very forward thinking. And so thank you for continuing this conversation with me, Blair, and welcome back to the show.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for having me back, Suzanne. It's good to be on the show again. I am looking forward to talking about one of my favorite topics of South Platte Renew.
Great. Now, you teased this out, and I did in the last episode, a thing called PARC. And please tell us, what does that stand for?
Yeah, PARC is it stands for Pilot and Research Center, and so it's a research and piloting center that we've developed here. We started in about 2019, and it's just coming. Well, it's coming to fruition now. We're starting to see some benefits of the PARC Center. So it's kind of a two-phase deal. PARC is, it's a physical location where pilot trailers can come in. It has 4 kind of research bays that pilot trailers can pull into and get different streams of from our process flows. So a pilot trailer who wants to know, for example, we had a bar screen pilot trailer come in, so they can come in, hook up to our influent wastewater, which is the raw stuff, which is what they would be using the bar screen for, hook up to that feed and test their technology right there on site with real wastewater in real time, and get results. So they can get different streams from different locations depending on what the technology is: secondary effluent, final effluent, or we're even working on a solids. So if they wanted to get digested solids, we're going to have a spot for that coming up soon. But yeah, so that's the physical part. The other part is more programmatic of PARC, and that is this philosophy or this program to bring in new technologies, test it out, test it here so that we know it works, to, like you say, reduce that risk of, it's one of the big fears in wastewater. No one wants to go out on a limb and try something that's never been done before. You never want to be the first in the industry to do anything, because, it's scary. And so we're trying to reduce that fear, reduce that risk by testing and piloting different technologies, different treatment technologies, so that, they either work or they don't. If they don't, they probably, at least they've gotten data, and we know we can move on from there. So, they're not all going to work, but we may find the silver bullet that does exactly what we need, or we may contribute to the, industry knowledge of different treatment processes.
I think this is fantastic, because something you mentioned, if it didn't work, it does kind of help the technology provider, because then if they see that there were things that didn't work as planned or as well as they had anticipated, it allows them to go back to the drawing board with real data to refine it. But also that, some technologies that come out, it's not going to be a one size fits all or be the solution, because what's coming into your plant could vary differently from what's coming into a plant in New York or in Florida. all these environments are different just because of the communities and whatever you're dealing with, if there's industrial wastewater. And so I think this is brilliant that you get to test it on your actual stream. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's great, because I think it was you, maybe it might have been you, might have been someone else that said to me, there's a lot of great new technologies that are coming out now. And some of them are really good, and they're kind of like you were saying, that silver bullet, or that they're that, oh, that holy grail we've been waiting for. And then there are some that are kind of middle of the road. They work for some, but not for others. And then there are some that it's a great theory, but it still needs a little bit of work.
Yeah. And I think this park allow, yeah, you can, engineers, scientists can come up with something in a lab, can come up with
Right.
a beaker or doing jar testing and get only so far. But at some point, you need that real world tested on real wastewater flowing at, volumes that matter, and see if it works, or what tweaks it needs. And so, this is kind of that step from an idea or a lab based, or small scale to pilot scale at a facility. And yeah, that's what we like the Park Center for, because if we try it on our wastewater, it's probably gonna extrapolate to other plants. But like you say, they are all different, and temperatures are different, and elevations are different, and the wastewater coming in is different, just like you said. So they'll have to, there's always tweaks that you have to make for
Right.
those. We'll know, hey, we know this works on ours because we tried it here.
Right. So with that said, it's a brilliant idea. I think it's going to allow, taking a stand like this really allows your organization, because it sounds to me like what we discussed in the last episode, that you're extremely forward thinking, that you want to try new technologies, you like to try new technologies, you want to stay ahead of the curve of the regulations, or just what we were talking about in the last episode, intensifying. How can we make our plant perform even beyond what it was originally designed for? And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to be willing to look at new technologies and not say, okay, well, that's the way we've always been done. I understand we have to be a little bit risk averse and have a high, very low risk tolerance because of what we're dealing with for our communities. And so with that said, what did it take, if other people are going, yeah, I really like this idea, what did it take for you to build this research center at your facility? How much land did it take? What was involved? What was the time involved to get it, designed and up and running? Maybe take us through nuts and bolts, step by step, so others are thinking, wow, this is kind of cool, but what does it mean for me to actually make it happen?
Yeah, I think, and I'm not in the engineering department, so don't hold me to any of this, but I'll give you a
Okay.
kind of
Bird's
an
eye
overview.
view.
Yeah. So what it took first is just getting buy-in. Our director, he is he got his MBA, and he's kind of thinks more a business sector, than utility sector. I don't know if that's true, but he's kind of the one who said, hey, there's incubators out there in other areas. They're trying new
Yeah.
technology, doing this. Let's bring that into this, the stodgy world of wastewater, where everyone is over conservative, and kind of apply some of these outside methods to wastewater. So that was kind of the impetus behind it to get there. It's getting buy-in from the two cities who own the plant, the supervisory committee that oversees the plant, and getting their buy-in. And then that was pretty easy to do, because when they see, hey, there's a future, cost looming of potentially, 200 million, but maybe that could be knocked down to 70 million if we, find the right technology, or figure something out through this park center. Then the small investment in park, really is minimal compared to the reward you could reap at the end. So we got buy-in from them. The plant site, it probably takes up, it was existing space. It was existing space. It had grass on it, which we're always looking for ways to get rid of grass. So we're not always watering. We're not a turf farm here, but so we took out a bunch of grass, designed it, which is great, because a lot of times pilot trailers come into a facility and they're notorious for leaks because they're hooked up with temporary piping or hoses.
Mm,
There's always leaks. So I love this facility because it's designed for any leaks to go back to the headworks. And so you don't have that environmental issue of what if a
oh,
hose
wow.
breaks, something happens. So they designed the bay. We worked with engineers to design the hookups and getting the process flows to that cost some money. I think the whole thing probably took it was probably about a year from start to finish to get the process flows there, to get kind of a manifold where they come in, hook up the piping. It also has electrical because pilot trailers always need electricity, and they need the process flows to come in order to work. So yeah, it took about a year to get running. So like I say, part of it's that physical space for pilot trailers, but
Mhm.
it's also throughout the organization. I mean, we're doing research with universities. It's not just with vendors of technologies. We're working with universities. We're working with government agencies. We're working with private agencies. We are a private industry. We have a project where we're taking the waste stream from a distillery nearby, and see, it's called the heads and the tails. When they distill whiskey, they have this waste stream that can't be
Right.
used. They dispose of it. Well, we're just, it's high in BOD, which is one thing we need. So we're seeing working right now on a study to see if we can utilize that waste stream in our processes to improve treatment. So really, it's not just pilot trailers coming in, hooking up. It's working with, Colorado School of Mines or
Fine.
Colorado, University of Colorado, CSU, for our biosolids program. We've been working with them, doing research for years. And so, all that's kind of under our umbrella of PARC, of piloting and research and utilizing, the smart people that we have here and the smart people in the industry to get us where we need to go.
Well, you had mentioned to me offline and also in the last episode that you test different streams from different parts in the process here.
Yeah.
How did you manage that? Is it just that you have different piping running from different parts in there for those different technologies, depending on what they're designed to work with in the process?
Yep, exactly. So, and yeah, it's exactly what it is. So we have incoming influent, which is the raw influent. Have a stream there. So there's just a lot of piping, a lot of routing piping from
Right,
the end of this process back up to get it to that manifold where it's easy for a trailer to hook up to whatever process stream they need and run their experiments simply and easily. And then we don't have them, throughout the plant, park next to a basin with a hose going into it. So it took some
right,
work, a lot of engineering and a lot of underground utility work and piping and things engineers are great at
right.
to get there. But yeah, that's what it is. It's a manifold of different streams from different areas of the plant. It's really an experimental test kitchen. It's a wastewater test kitchen, I guess. I don't know how I just.
Yeah. Well, no, now when it goes to these trailers and they do their whatever they're going to do, after they're done, then where does that stream go? Does it get, rerouted almost circular back to where it was in that spot? Like how are you able to quantify or track the data as to, okay, it worked? Like what happens to it after it goes through their process? I guess
Yeah,
that's
after it
the
goes through their
question.
process, they would collect the data. So, for example, we just had a trailer, RO pilot trailer here that it took our incoming wastewater,
Okay.
treated through multiple different processes. I think there was 8 or 9 different phases, different treatment processes to make drinking water. So at the end, we had drinking water came out of there, and we drank it. We drank some of it. It tasted great. I was amazed at it was delicious. But yeah, so it uh, took the incoming wastewater, took it through a bunch of different treatment processes, not RO. It was like carbon based. Most of them had RO in there, but there was 2 different streams because they were trying to do it without RO. So you don't have that brine stream that's always a problem. But anyway, to answer your question, yeah, everything once it's done, well, that we put in a container, we drank it because it was drinkable. Normally, whatever, the data would be collected in the trailer, and these trailers are
Right.
high tech, tons of instrumentation
Right.
and computers, and they're collecting the data, and then it would just go back into the headworks and go through our whole treatment process again so that we don't disrupt anything,
Right. So everything's captured back into your system after it goes through their process so they can see, is it working? Is it's not? Okay.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a circular system.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really interesting. So as a result of having this, have there been any technologies, you don't have to name, names, but types of technology that have really stood out that was like, oh, wow, we have got to incorporate this, where having gone through this process, it really made an impact on your treatment and what you were going to do going forward?
Yeah, and we're like I say, kind of ramping up now to get more and to get more focused. I think we had a bar screen. We have bar screens have a certain uh, like half inch. You get a half-inch bar screen. How much stuff it allows through it is what they measure on a bar screen. So we had a bar screen come in that was finer. Mesh, I guess, or smaller openings. So we looked at that, and that eventually got incorporated into our master plan because we figured out we could remove a lot of stuff that's getting into our digesters or causing issues
Right.
down by looking at that pilot trailer. We learned a lot from that. DPR, direct potable reuse, is what DPR stands for, which is that turning wastewater into drinking water.
Mhm.
And so we're looking at, that really opened our eyes to, hey, you can't get much more advanced treatment than taking wastewater and making it drinkable. So a lot of those technologies in there, we're looking at for phosphorus removal, for how would we scale this up? How would we make this work, at our plant, at our facility, if we needed to get it to that level. It would be, a pilot trailer is one thing, getting it full scale would be another, because it's expensive when you're trying to remove PFAS and nutrients to these low levels. Everything is, you can take out a big chunk for a reasonable amount, but when you get down to the very low, it's like an exponential increase in cost to do that. So, but yeah, I think the DPR trailer kind of opened our eyes to a lot of technologies. The bar screen, the project with that distillery has kind of got us thinking more about how can we amp up our biological treatment. We have chemical phosphorus treatment here, but if we're going to get down those low numbers, we need biological removal as well to get us there. So I think a lot of these have paid off, paid dividends, but a lot of the dividends are hard to calculate because they're just getting our people thinking, getting a new mindset, new way of looking at things, and but that's valuable because it's hard to do in this industry.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing this and what you're doing there. And, I commend you. I truly commend you. And, thank you for your service to your community, because, people in this field, you do tough jobs. You do hard work. It's sometimes dirty. It's not glamorous, but it is so vital to the lifestyle that we get to enjoy in a developed nation. As someone who has traveled internationally, I'll tell you, you go to a third world country, especially like a place like India, I'll tell you, you will never take your tap water or your flush toilet for granted ever, ever, ever again. And I know there's some places in this country where people have to boil water, and we think about what happened during COVID and what happens during natural disasters, and it's, imagine having to do that every day. We are so blessed here. And so, yeah, thank you for being willing to stay on the forefront and be open to taking a look at all of these innovations that are coming through. And like we said, not all of them are going to be winners, but we have to at least be open to taking a look to see, hey, there could be something in there that could really be a benefit for us. And just, yeah, I think this is fantastic. And so for any of you listening who would like to know more about this, if you look up South Platte Renew in Colorado, you can find their website to learn more about what the organization is doing. Blair himself is also open to having conversations with people. We met on LinkedIn. Reach out to him. He is a wealth of knowledge and can share more experiences if this is something that you're thinking about doing it at your own facility. And I think it's something really worth considering. And so, Blair, thank you for sharing your experience and, just your wisdom with me and with the industry at large.
Yeah, thank you, Suzanne. It's been a pleasure. And I enjoyed talking about wastewater. Sometimes my wife probably doesn't like that as much, but yeah, sometimes yeah, I love talking wastewater and protecting public health, as you said, is an important thing for our communities, and I love being in the center of it.
Yeah, I have to say, in my mind, and I've worked in many different industries, but for the last 25 years, I've been in this one, and I think it's the best industry in the world. It is filled with some of the greatest people, and the work is interesting. A lot of times it's out of sight, out of mind. People don't get, and you were saying, talking about wastewater, it is a fascinating field. It really, really is. There's so many different angles to it. And so, again, listeners, thank you for tuning in. And, we bring a lot of different topics here to the forefront on the Doo-Doo Diva Smells Like Money podcast. And really, again, Blair, thank you so much. And listeners, thank you for tuning in and sharing your valuable time with us. And until next time, keep it flowing.
Be sure to subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. If you're an industry expert and would like to be considered as a guest on the show, click the Be a Podcast guest link below in the show notes for more information. Thanks again for joining me, the Doo-Doo Diva, on this week's episode of the Smells Like Money podcast.